Very good morning, dear students. I welcome all of you to the today's session. And this session we are going to start with a new chapter, that is chapter 4, presentation of data. We already know that in a statistical study there are mainly 5 steps. First one, collection of data. Second one, organizing the collected data. And third step is presenting the data. And fourth main step is analysis. And at last, drawing a conclusion or interpretation of data. These are the 5 main steps are involved in the statistical study. In that, the most important step in a statistical study is the presentation of data. After collection of data and organization of data, the most important step in statistical study, that is presentation of data. Here, very simple, the presentation of data is always helpful for the better understanding and also the comparison and also for the to draw a meaningful conclusion or to come for the interpretation relating to any particular statistical study. Relating to any study or in any statistical study, if you want to understand betterly whatever the details we have collected, if you want to understand betterly and to the comparison and to draw a meaningful conclusion, always the presentation of data is most useful. The presentation of data is always helpful to draw a better understanding and for the comparison and also to draw a meaningful conclusion, and so to draw a conclusion relating to statistical study. But it always the presentation of data helpful to the better understanding and comparison and also to draw a meaningful conclusion relating to a statistical study. The presentation of data will be most effective method to make understand the data relating to a particular fact. Here, in a presentation of data, we are going to present in 3 forms. In a presentation of data, we are going to present the data in the 3 forms or mainly in the 3 types. What are the 3 types of? There are 3 forms or types of presentation of data. In that, first and foremost important type of presentation of data is textual presentation. Textual presentation, or it also called as descriptive presentation. Textual or descriptive presentation. And third one, textual presentation is diagrammatical presentation. These are the three types of forms of presenting the data. In the first one, textual or descriptive presentation, and second one, tabular presentation, and third main important presentation of data is diagrammatical presentation. Here we will now discuss one by one the meaning and the form of presentation. Here the first one is textual presentation. Textual presentation in the sense when we are presenting the data with the help of words or sentences. When we are presenting the data with the help of words or sentences, it means with the help of text. If we are going to present the data which we have collected related to a particular study. Got it? This form, it means the textual form of presentation is always suitable only with the small data, only with the small unit of data. If the data is a large form, we can't be able to use the textual presentation. We can use the textual or descriptive presentation only when the data is too small or very small form. For example, we have conducted the research relating to a poverty, and at last we came to know there is a 26% of people are suffering in the poor condition. Then this is what the small unit of data, right? The small unit of data. Then we can able to present with the help of words or text. At last we can say that in a country the 26% of population are suffering with the poor condition. And that one more important example I will give. Now, cigarettes are injurious to health. Then smoking is injurious to health. Then we can give a small quotation. Likewise, when the data form is very small or too small, then we can use the textual presentation. Got it? Take a meaning. Textual presentation means textual or descriptive presentation refers to presenting the data in the form of words or text. In the form of words or text is called textual presentation. Always the textual presentation suitable only when the data is too small. Textual presentation suitable only when the size of data is too small. Then example we can give. Example are, for instance, India suffering with 26% of poverty or poor people, or smoking is one more data. Understood, right? Textual presentation means when we are using the words or sentences or the text to present the data. Got it? And this type of presentation only suitable when the data is in small format. Got it? And next we will move to the one more type of presentation, that is tabular presentation. Here for 1 mark they will ask what is textual presentation. Give an example at 2 marks. Here next most important topic of the chapter is tabular presentation. The second form of or the second type of presentation of data is tabular presentation. I think all of you are well known about the table, right now? What do you mean by table first? Before knowing the tabular presentation, first we need to know the meaning of table. Table, it is contains with the rows and columns. Table refers to, or is a table is a collection of rows and columns. Got it? Table is a collection of rows and columns. You all know about about rows and columns. Rows are the horizontal lines or gap between these lines, and columns are the vertical lines. The combination of these rows and columns are the collection of these rows and columns. We will call it as a table. Got it? The collection of rows and columns will be called as a table. And now next we will do the meaning of tabular presentation. I think you understood about what is table, right? Table is a collection of rows and columns. Next, the tabular presentation means it is a process of tabular presentation is a process of systematic arrangement of data with the help of rows and columns. Got it now? Your tabular presentation refers to, it is a process of systematic arrangement of a data with the help of rows and columns. This is what tabular presentation. Got it right? With the help of rows and columns, if we are going to present the data in a systematic way or in a systematic manner, that can be called as a tabular presentation of the data. Got it right? Next, the tabular presentation we can present with the 4 main forms. Here, the tabular presentation or the table presentation we can present in the 4 types of classification. Already we have discussed in the 3rd chapter itself. The classification of data are the 4 types. One is chronological or temporal classification. Second one, spatial classification. Third, qualitative classification and quantitative classification. Here also, in order to present the data with the help of table or in the help of rows and columns, there are mainly four classification of data, four classification of tabular presentation of data. In the first one, chronological, or it also called as temporal classification. Here, temporal or chronological classification means when we are going to present or organize the data with the help of time duration. When we are going to classifying or presenting the data based on time duration like hours, days, weeks, months or year basis. If we are going to presenting the data, then that kind of presentation will be called as a chronological classification or chronological presentation. Understood? Here, the table will be mainly depends on the time duration. We are going to enter the data in the table based on the time duration. Like take example, the months, temperature. Here in January month, next in February, and the month March, and next month May, June, and we will write the temperature of the month here. Like the January month, we will be having 22 degree Celsius, and here the February maximum limit will be 28, and in the March it starts with the summer. Then we will be having 32 degrees Celsius, and in the month May it may be reached 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. Here in month April it reaches to 35 degrees Celsius, and in May it continues with the 35 degrees Celsius. Likewise, the temperature in a particular state and in a particular area, if you are going to classify based on the month or based on the days or weeks or based on the year, then that kind of classification will be called as chronological classification. Already in the previous chapter with the example we have discussed, and once again we are going to discussing this topic. Understood, right? Chronological classification means when we are going to classify the data based on the time duration. Then next, one more form of classification of table is second one, spatial classification. Here, spatial classification of data is very simple, nothing but when we are presenting the data or when we are going to classify the data based on the geographical locations, that is nothing but spatial classification. Understood, right? Based on the geographical location, that means based on the village wise or city wise or district wise or state wise or country wise, if you are presenting the data, then that will be called as spatial classification. And how to present this spatial classification of data in the table, in the sense here we are going to classify the data relating to the production of food grains in the country, and within the country we have collected the data relating to the production of food grains, and that data we are going to classify based on the state wise. Then it will be called as spatial example we are discussing now the states in the first column and production of food grains in tons. Production of food grains in tons in first Punjab, the production of food grains is 345 tons per annum, and in Kerala 281 tons, and in Karnataka 338 tons, and in Tamil Nadu 321 tons, and in Andhra Pradesh 308 tons. Likewise, the production we are collecting the data related to the production of food grains, and to further better understanding, if we are classifying the data based on the states, then it will be termed as a spatial classification. This is how presentation of table for the spatial classification. Understood? And next we move to one more form of classification, that is qualitative classification. Good, got it? The third one is qualitative classification. In qualitative classification means here when we are going to classify the data based on the some special characteristics are the qualitative characteristics, like their social status or their physical status or with their nationality. If we are going to classify, then that will be called as qualitative classification. Here the physical status in the means whether they are male or female, or their social status means they are rich or poor, or they are educated or uneducated, or they are Indians or other countries. Likewise, based on the special characteristics of a persons, it means their social status and their physical status and their nationality. While if we are organizing or if we are classifying the data, that kind of data presentation will be called as qualitative presentation. Then for that kind of data, we use a table in this form. If for example we are taking the literacy rate of India in male and female, literacy rate of India in male and female. Here to present the literacy rate, we will have two columns. One is gender, here literacy rate, here male, next female, here under male, the literacy rate of our country is 74%. Total male population, in the total male population we have 74% of literacy rate, and in a female the 69.5% of literacy based on the gender as well as literacy. It means that it is their what social status, and it is nothing but their physical status. Likewise, based on the physical status or the social status of a person, if we classify the data, that is nothing but qualitative classification. And that kind of data we can present in this way with the help of table. And next we are moving to one more type of classification, that is quantitative classification. The fourth form of classification is quantitative classification. Here, quantitative classification means when we are presenting the data based on the quantitative characteristics or attributes like marks, production, income, and likewise with the help of this type of attributes, if we are going to present the data, then that kind of data presentation will be called as quantitative classification. It means with the help of kgs or the height, weight, and marks or income. Likewise, these categories if you are taken to classify the data, then that kind will be called as quantitative based on height, weight, income, and marks and production. These are related to quantitatives, right? And with the help of this quantitative characteristics, if we are classify the data, that is called quantitative classification. For that example, if we are going to take, here we will consider the age group of a persons, the percentage of persons in the particular age group. If we are going to discuss, let's take a age group. Age is also one of the quantitative characteristics, right? The age group and percentage of people or population. Here 0 to 18 years or from 18 to 40 years, from 40 to 68 years, and 60 to 80, 80 to 100. This is what the age group classification. And here from 0 to 18, in India there is a total 18% of population belongs to 0 to 18 age, and from 18 to 40 age group is India is also called as young country because this group of people are more in the country. It is nothing but 42% of our country's population belongs to this age category, and from 40 to 60 there is a 16% of population, and 60 to 80 there is a 17% of population, and from 80 to 90 we have only 8% of population. Likewise, if we are going to classify the total population based on their age group or based on their height or based on their weight or their with the marks performance. Likewise, with the quantitative characteristics, if we are going to classify the data, that can be called as quantitative classification. Understood, right? This is what the 4 forms of tabular presentation with the classifications of data. I hope all of you understood. Now, the most important question for your examination is mention the parts or components of table or explain the components of table. Likewise, they used to ask the question, and the most important topic now will be discussed. Got it? we draw for the clear-cut analysis and for the exact presentation and for the easy comparison and also for the easy identification, we need to maintain some of the most important parts while drawing a table. Got it? For the easy understanding and for the comparison, we need to maintain some of the main parts in a table. What are the main parts in that? First one, the first and foremost important component or part of table is table number. Table number. It means here we will be having multiple tables in particular presentation, but for the easy identification and for the clear identification, first we need to mention the table number on the top of a table. On the top of a table, first we need to mention a table number. Why we need to give a table number? In the sense, for the easy identification of the table. Got it? And second one is title of a table. Here, the title of a table used to express the nature and the features of a data. Got it? Here, title will be always mentioned on the above the table and below the table number, and title of the table always represents the exact features or the characteristics or the nature of the data which is entered in the table. Got it? Whatever the table expressing, that expressions are the nature we can present with the table. For example, previously we have drawn the table relating to the age group and literacy. For that table we will mention the literacy rate of our country belongs to a different age groups. Likewise, whatever the title we use, that title must represent the nature or the features of a table, and always the title will be below the table number and above the table. Got it? And next, third one, endnote. Endnote means whatever the key issues we are presenting in the table, because sometimes if we are going to measuring the production in a table, then that measurement we should be mentioned in the endnote, whether we are measuring the production with the help of kgs or with the help of tons or with the help of quintals. Likewise, and if we are presenting the income of the people in a particular table, then that income we are measuring in rupees or in hundreds or in thousands or in lakhs or in crores. In which way we are measuring the income of a persons? How we are presenting, that we should be mentioned, and that is what endnote. Got it? And this endnote will be below the title and extremely right side of a table. Extremely right side of a table. Got it? And next main part is captions, or you can also call as column heading. Column heading. Here, captions or column heading is always represent the entire characteristics of the data which we are entered in the particular column. The column heading or captions will be present the nature of a data which we are entered in the particular column. Got it? And next one is stubs, or we can also call as row heading. Row heading. Here, row heading is the extreme left part of a table, and stubs or row heading represents the nature of the data entered in that particular row. Got it? Entered in that particular row. Whatever the data is nature of that entire data will be understood by the row heading. Got it now? And next most important part of table is body of the table. This is what most important part. After row heading and column heading, whatever the numerical values will be entered in the particular table, that numerical values are nothing but body of the table. This is what the exact information will be providing to a person. Got it? And next, most important is source node. Source node means from where we have collected the information which we have presented in the data. Whatever the data we have presented in the table, in which form we have collected, whether we have collected from published sources or from unpublished sources or from census or from websites, from which source or from whom we have collected that particular data, that should be written in the bottom of a table. Got it? That is called source node. And at last, footnote. Footnote in the sense that what entire characteristics of table and part of table we will mention at last. That special features what we will write, that is nothing but footnote, or we can say conclusion to a table. This is what the 8 parts of a table. First one, table number, next title of the table, and head note, captions, or we will call it as a column heading, stubs, or we will also call as a row heading, body of the table, and source node, footnote. In detail we will discuss one by one in the next class. Thank you everyone for listening to this class. We will meet in the next class.